Bonjour mon petit chifflet, Amber here, and welcome to the second half of my July reading wrap-up. When I was editing this video, I made the executive decision to cut it in half because I talk a lot, so the video was almost an hour long, so this is part 2. Proceed with caution. So, the last book that I read before the start of the reading rush was a book it was a highly anticipated book of the year by an author I fell in love with at the beginning of this year, and I read With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I read this book in like 2 days, and I actually said that I wished that I had read this book for the reading rush, for the challenge of read a book with 5 or more words in the title, because of how fast I read it and how easy I found it. I said that about Fix Her Up too, for the read a book with purple on the cover, because I sped through that book too. But this book is the story of Imani, who is an aspiring cook, aspiring chef. She uses her cooking basically as an escape and a way to express her emotions and deal with all of the things, the stress and all the things that are going on in her life. She is a teen mother. She had a baby when she was a freshman in high school, and now she is a senior. At the start of this book, she's starting her senior year in high school. So this book is the story of her balancing being a mother, trying to graduate high school, trying to figure out what her next steps in life are. There are moments where she's trying to balance still just being a normal teenager who has friendships and is tiptoeing around maybe having a relationship, while also balancing the relationship with her baby, the father of her baby. So she uses her cooking as an outlet for her emotions, and her cooking has this sort of magical quality to it. When people eat her food, they experience like a rush of the emotion that I guess she's feeling at the time, or that she puts into the food. And then a culinary program comes to her school, and it's also the story of her working towards the end of the year trip to Spain for this big, like, once in a lifetime experience, and trying to figure out how to put that into her life. There's just this book. It feels so familiar to me and just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I loved it so much. First and foremost, the book takes place in Philly, so that in and of itself means so much to me, because I'm like, wow, that lends to the familiarity, because I'm like, I know where that is, oh, I know where that is. And just like her personality, how she reacts to things, her attitude, I'm like, mood. It's almost like Philadelphia, or just like the spirit of Philadelphia is like a whole other element to characters. Like, some people won't get it. If you're not from here, you don't get it, but I got it and I loved it. And just a lot of it just felt like right here. Like, the book starts with Imani trying to perfect Emma, her baby's hair, for like her first day of preschool. And from the first page of the book, I'm in it, because I'm just like, wow, been there, I've been there. My mom has spent endless amounts of time working on the perfect part in my hair. I've been sat on the floor crying because your girl's tender-headed. But I mean, to this day, I can't ask my mom to do my hair without at least devoting at least 25 minutes to her getting the part right. And I'm like, ma'am, please. My one issue with the book is that it's just the classic, I let go of a breath I didn't know I was holding. And that usually doesn't bother me, because one, I do that all the time. I'm always holding my breath without realizing it. But it happened 3 times in this book. 3. I absolutely loved how important like Imani's support system was. Her grandma, her abuela, her best friend, just I loved her. She felt very real to me. Okay, let me interject really quick for a second and go back to talking about how familiar this book felt, because there are a lot of elements aside from just the city and like different landmarks within the city that I was like, what's going on here? Because one, the love interest in this book, his name is Malachi. My little cousin is Malachi. Now, aside from just that, because I was like, okay, that's just a name. When we are first introduced to Malachi, he is described as, let me see if I can find it actually. Oh, also she lives like right around my my church. Okay, so it says he is a tall, dark-skinned dude, at least 6'4", and I already know he's a ball player. I'm sorry, what's happening here? Do you know my cousin? And then to top it off, they have the same initials. So that was something. It also kind of made it weird reading the book knowing he was a love interest, because like from that point on, I literally couldn't see him as anyone aside from my cousin Malachi, whose diapers I changed. And then towards the end of the book, there's like the moment where she's going through her college acceptances and rejections. I couldn't remember what the opposite of acceptance was. And there is a letter from Arcadia University. And I was like, wait, whoa. I didn't know people knew that school existed. That was my college. I went to that college. AU, go Knights. So that was wild to me. But also, her mom, we find out her mom's name was Naya. And not only do I have a cousin Malachi, I also have a cousin Naya. And they're like the same age. Did I write this book? So anyway, speaking of Malachi, I really loved him despite the fact that I can only see him as my cousin. He's just like the sweetest little bean, and he deserves the whole world. I just love him. I even loved her relationship with Tyrone, who is Emma's father. He got on my nerves a lot, but there was like a level of maturity between them, and the way they interacted, and even when they had little spats, like at the most important part was them providing like a healthy, non-toxic environment for Emma. I thought that was really impressive, especially considering their ages and how young they are. And I actually think that's much needed with representation of young parents, and also like young parents of color, because a lot of times like black young parents are portrayed as these like toxic baby mama, baby father problems, and I'm like, come on, let's not, please, thank you. So I love this book a lot. I love Elizabeth Acevedo. I've read both of her books this year, and they're both in my top books of the year. She can do no wrong in my eyes, so great. So, oh boy. Then was the start of the reading rush, which was the last week. It was from the 22nd to the 28th of July, and there were 7 prompts. I had like 3 books set in stone to set up. I mean, to prepare to read, a 4th maybe at the end of it, and completed 2 of the books. I completed more than 2 of the challenges, because that's how I set it up. So the first book I read for that was completed both of the tasks of read a book with purple on the cover and read an author's first book. And for that, I'm glad I started with that. Actually, also, I wanted to start this readathon with someone that I loved and trusted. And I read Something Strange and Deadly by Susan Dennard, author of the Witchland series, who we all know I love. I love Suze a lot. I have been quite interested in reading her first series for quite some time now. This book also takes place in Philadelphia. But this takes place in like I guess it's like the Victorian area. Era, like turn of the century, is like the end of the 1800s. This story follows Eleanor is a part of the Philadelphia Fits, who was this once very prestigious, rich family in Philadelphia society, since her father's died, their status has declined. Her brother is missing, and the dead have started to rise and strike in Philadelphia. So that's that. And basically she teams up with the spirit hunters to figure out, one, who is controlling the dead, the zombies, and also where her brother could be, because he's wrapped up in this case as well. I don't really read, I guess, zombie-esque novels, but I really, really enjoyed this. I think it's because while I don't read like zombie books, I do love historical fiction. So this definitely had that historical fiction element. Also, again, it takes place in my city, but I'm not biased or whatever. There's a moment where they're talking about the dead escaping Laurel Hill Cemetery, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I know where it is. All my dead family members are there.
Gee.
That was my first thought. Anywho, I just want to start this by saying the first line, not the first line of the book, it's on the flap of the book. There's something strange and deadly in Philadelphia. Anyway, I knew I was going to love this book. I love Susan. I love her writing style. I can definitely see the growth from this book, between this book and Truth Witch. Definitely between this book and Blood Witch. So, like I was saying before when I was talking about finale, you can usually see an author's growth, and this is definitely the example of that. The writing style, just growth, and I'm like, yes, chef's kiss. But this was actually also very well written and very good. I liked the fact that the action started pretty instantly in this book. Sometimes I don't really want a long build-up. I want to learn the story, learn the world, learn the characters as we go, and that's definitely how this goes. The fact that like I said, the world building and the character building didn't detract from the story at all. Even though Suze is an expert at world building, love that so much. I also really like that the romance, there's a budding romance. Well, there's like a couple different types of romance going on, but it didn't actually play that big a factor in the story. I mean, to some extent, part of it is actually really crucial to the story, but it wasn't the focus. You know how a lot of times it becomes the focus of a story? That wasn't the case at all. It says it isn't that much of a factor in the story, more than you'd expect at that time period, because that was, once again, like all young women were expected to do was procure a respectable marriage. There were some bits that were kind of predictable, but I didn't mind that at all. And I was pleasantly surprised. Well, I wasn't really surprised, but I was pleased. And I do plan to continue this series. Great. Thank you, Susan Dennard, for existing, basically. So in the last book, I finished for the readathon, completed the tasks of read a book with 5 or more words in the title and read a book in the same spot. And for that, I read A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kimmerer. I actually got this book at the same signing. Got this signed, met Bridget, the same signing as Blood Witch by Susan. So speaking of Susan Dennard, this book is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's kind of partially set in our world, where the main character, Harper, is just like a normal girl living in Washington, D.C., falls through a portal into Emberfall, and where, I have to sneeze, where she is meets Prince Ren, who is the Beast character in the story. He has been cursed basically to relive the season of his 18th birthday until he manages to get a girl to fall in love with him. So for like 300 plus seasons, 5 years, it's just been him and his commander of the guard, Gray, just hanging out in the castle by themselves. Not by themselves all the time, because there's always like a girl at some point during the season, until either, I guess, she's returned back to her world or killed by the beast that Ren turns into at the end of the season. That's not a spoiler. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So Harper has cerebral oh my lord, cerebral palsy. One of my favorite moments in the book was when the moments where she made a point to say that like she's not broken, and like she explains it to Ren and explains how like she won't basically let it hold her back. And just anyway, I loved Harper a lot. I just loved her character. I loved her. I love the fact that, hold on, do I have this in my notes? I love the fact that she doesn't just instantly accept what's happened to her, the fact that she's trapped in this world. She's basically been kidnapped by these two dudes and expected to fall in love with this dude that she doesn't know and break this curse. That's a lot of pressure, and she fights it for a really long time, and that's not very typical. I do love Ren a lot. He is sweet boy, but I particularly love Commander Gray, and that man, he's husband material, hubby material. Wife him, Harper, sorry. I love the dynamic and the relationship between the three of them. I love the twists on the tropes within the book. I mean, it's once again a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so we know what we're getting into here. But like there are certain twists, and like there are certain moments where it's sort of called out, like the moment where Harper's basically like, I know what Stockholm Syndrome is, and this is not gonna happen, bro. I actually really like the progression of Ren and Harper's relationship, and how it actually seemed really genuine, how it seemed like a genuine progression, and just them getting to know each other and learning to trust each other, I guess. I love that they were allowed to actually figure out what was going on despite the expectations and the consequences, I guess, if they didn't succeed. Once again, I said I really like that she fought the expectations for a while, but once they actually built the trust, it was almost like she was the one taking steps, like building that bridge. And I just really liked that, how respectful of all of her choices Ren was. Basically didn't do anything without her approval or consent. I'm like, we love a respectful king. And I also really loved that this didn't take place in like a week. A lot of fantasy stories, I find, you have this whole drawn out saga, whole relationships built, and it's like, this was like a week or two, and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't even know if I like myself after a week. Like, what's going on here? But this took place over a span of like, I think almost 2 months. So it felt more like Bridget knew what she was doing here. She really planned it out, plotted it out, made it realistic, and I really appreciated that. And I'm really stressed out about the ending and excited for a book 2. I hate that I have to wait till January because I have a lot of questions that need answering. I have a lot of thoughts. I guess I understand now, but there was a moment in the very beginning of the book, I'm like, you're telling me Ren and Gray are stuck in this castle for 5 years together and nothing happened? Like, I get it now. I really enjoyed this book. I knew I was going to enjoy this book. I don't have to say this every single time I read a retelling, but I'm going to. I am a sucker for a retelling. I love Beauty and the Beast. A lot of people, when this book came out, kind of, not really complained, but like kind of skeptical, because like, oh, do we really need another Beauty and the Beast retelling? I don't even know if I've read one. I know like A Court of Whatever and Whatever is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast of sorts, but I haven't read that book. I haven't even decided if I want to read the book. Like, I really don't, but I kind of want to do one of those reaction reading vlogs where I just go in it and it's kind of filled with spoilers and all of my reactions to all the moments, because from what I've heard, it's just one of those. But I really enjoyed this book, and I don't know why it took me so long to read it, and I'm kind of mad about it because I've had it since March, February. So the last book I started for the reading rush, didn't get around to finishing it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, which would have completed the tasks of read a book you meant to read last year and read a book with a non-human main character. This book is about Yumiko, is that her name? Yumiko, who is a half kitsune, half human, half kitsune, and she basically is forced to team up with this assassin to find as part of this scroll that will protect the world. Fox shapeshifters A fox shapeshifter sworn to hide a mysterious scroll, a secret assassin under orders to kill to obtain it. Hunted by demons, gods, and shadows, their wary bond may break them or alter the course of the world. And I only got about... This book is upside down. I have the thing on upside down. I'm only 133 pages into it, but I had to put it down because I was struggling to get into it. I don't know if it was like a burnout from all the books I had read or just it's not for me. But like I went on Goodreads and stuff and like people love this book and rave about it, so I'm like maybe I should do kind of what I did for ReadAThon, where I didn't want to force myself to push through it and kind of take the reading experience and therefore I wouldn't enjoy it. So I'm like, I'm just going to put it down for a while and then I'll pick it back up and try again, I guess after I'm done reading for the DéLIRE. So I do plan on finishing this book because I am still really interested and I really like the premise of it. I've been told by a friend that it reminded her a lot of season 3 of Teen Wolf, which is my favorite season of Teen Wolf. So that in and of itself is a reason for me to keep pushing through it. Alright, so after all of that, I'm done. My mouth is dry. I'm thirsty. I talk too much. So those are all the books that I read for July. I'm tired. Let me know down below what you read in July. If you took part in the reading rush, let me know if you were successful. Let me know if you're taking part in the Disney ReadAthon or any other ReadAthon you might be doing this month. If you read any of these books that I mentioned, let me know what you think of them. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, you are the real MVP. If you like me, feel free... No. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here, so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back. And I'll see you very soon.